Hi folks, welcome back to Glesga News. The link will be in the description as usual. It's by Keith Jackson. He is a bit hysterical at times, Keith Jackson, but I don't mean that in a good way. So anyway, let's hit the headline. Brendan Rodgers. Biggest betrayal is state he has left Celtic squad in. Keith Jackson. And that kind of means that's his opinion, you know. It's not necessarily the record's opinion. The Celtic squad is going to need overhauled in the summer after a number of short-term and poor signings. Right, let's go down. As the realisation began to dawn that Brendan Rodgers had left him in the darkness of night for another club, the Celtic support reacted to the news as if it was some kind of monstrous betrayal. An act of treachery on a scale not seen since Maurice Johnston crossed the Great Divide to collect his 30 pieces of silver. Or at least, that's how it felt as Rodgers scampered south, chased by a tidal wave of animosity and ill will, having told Celtic Chief Executive Pete Laurel that he would rather cut and run for Leicester City right now than stay in paradise for one day longer. And there's Pete Laurel getting into work. But the truth of the matter is this. Rodgers had been signposting his intentions to get back across that border for some considerable time, and those who chose to pay attention or chose not to pay attention to those messages he was sending out did so from a position of deliberate self-denial. They needed to believe Rodgers really was here for 10 in a row, because to consider anything else would have been to accept that the manager was not as all consumed by the chasing down this holy grail as they were, and that would have felt like a betrayal in itself. But the penny ought to have been dropping some time ago, especially last summer, when the sound of unrest behind the scenes became too loud to ignore. Having cleaned up back-to-back domestic trebles, Rodgers used his unprecedented position of power to start turning up the heat on his board of directors and on Law in particular, following the club's failed bid to land John McGinn from Hibs. The plot thickens. When Rodgers was asked if one day his patience might be broken by the limits of the club's ambitions, he said, "Yeah, my job is done then. Terminado. Gone." Hasta la vista, he could have stuck in there as well, couldn't he? It may have sounded a bit David Brent. Rodgers is prone to such lapses. Unlike you, Keith, you're kind of boring. But the message was clear, and it was effectively the beginning of the end. His relationship with Law was seriously strained, and even though both men swallowed their pride and got on about their respective jobs in the best interests of the club, a parting of the waves seemed inevitable. Law will not utter a bad word about Rodgers, and nor can he. The manager's work at the club and his results on the pitch have been close to immaculate over the last 2.5 years. And so they have, because he's won everything. Remember that. 7 straight major trophies are a permanent testament to his managerial excellence. Rodgers hardly put a foot wrong in all his time here and enjoyed a period of unblemished dominance like no other in Scottish football history. Well, this is getting a wee bit boring, so let's just try and jump on and see if we find anything else. Anyway, so it says here, he is joining a club which is already paying wages way in excess of 100k a week to players such as Jamie Vardy, Harry Maguire and Kasper Schmeichel. This opens up a whole new stratosphere of possibilities in the transfer market, and Rodgers will also see it as an opportunity to prove that, armed with such resources, he can take his miracle working to an entirely different level. And that there is Jamie Vardy. Some player, that guy. So fair. Anyway, folks, you know, Keith Jackson just goes on and on and on and on. You know, can you imagine what his wife has to put up with? You know. Oh God, here we go. So let's just, of course, someone like Lennon may make a persuasive case, but the days of managers throwing their weight around appear to be long gone, as he discovered for himself at Easter Road only a few weeks ago. Well, the thing at Easter Road was a wee bit different. He threw a chair at a guy. You know, Lennon may just be the right man at the right time in terms of finishing off the job Rodgers started this term, but fixing the mess left behind in the longer term, that could be the biggest challenge he's faced over his 3 stints at the club. Right, folks, that was basically a wee kind of rundown of Keith Moaning Face Jackson's opinions with regard to Brendan Rodgers' exit. Okay, folks, if you like the content, mind and subscribe and maybe give me a wee like. Is what it is. Peace out.